Hi there, and welcome to the first video in a series of 3 on how to bust your inner critic, or how to get started on busting your inner critic. My name is Karin Green, and I had a really bad inner critic. About 7 years ago, I would not be sitting here making a video for you. I would not be sharing my message with anyone because my inner critic was like a really loud, large wolf just roaring in my ears, telling me all the things I was doing wrong, saying wrong, looking wrong, not doing it right. I'm very pleased to announce that my inner critic has been transformed into a really strong inner ally. An inner ally that's like right here next to me and with me all the time. The inner critic these days, still there, but it's more like a little chihuahua, just snipping and biting at my heels. And for the most part, I can tell that chihuahua to just sit in the corner and be quiet, and I'll let it out when I'm done. I'm a transformational life coach. I work with my clients to bust their inner critic and to transform that inner critic into a strong inner ally so that they can have a positive, joyful, successful life. I'm also a shadow work facilitator, and I co-create transformational workshop where we tap into the Jungian archetype to create positive and lasting transformation for our participants. If you want to know more about shadow work, go and check out my website. I have created this video series to get you started on busting your inner critic and to introduce you to the ideas and possibilities that exist for you for transforming that inner critic into a strong, powerful inner ally. In the first video, we're going to start to create some awareness around your inner critic and start to see it as a voice separate from you. You were not born with this voice. In the second part, we're going to see if we can decide whose voice is that. If you were not born with that voice, then where did it come from? And determining the origin of this voice can also create a separation which will take some of the sting away from your inner critic's messages. In the third video, we're going to look at the very intimate relationship between an inner critic and your self-worth. And we're going to start to build that self-worth muscle. With a strong self-worth, it's like having a suit, a body armor on, through which the sting of your inner critic just cannot penetrate. It's like taking the ammunition away from your inner critic. So the first step in busting your inner critic is to start to become aware of it. That it's a part of you, that it's a voice, and it's not all that you are, and that you were not born with this voice. Some of the things the inner critic might be telling you or might sound like, you shouldn't have, why did you look so stupid, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that, right? It could be that your inner critic meets you first thing in the morning when you go into the bathroom and you look yourself in the mirror and you notice like, oh my God, you look so old, look at that red nose, what's up with the wrinkles, all that chin, hair, right? Or it might greet you at work, telling you, why bother? You're never going to get it all done today anyway. They're going to find out you don't know what you're doing. You're never going to get any recognition, so why try? And it might even be there in your most intimate relationships, telling you, don't be too vulnerable, you're going to get hurt. Or why try? It's not going to last. Or they don't see anything in you. What do you think they see in you? So I'd like you to start thinking about, what are your inner critic's messages to you? What are the messages that you hear? If thinking about what your inner critic's messages are leads you down that spiral of finding more and more to criticize about yourself, then I want you to stop. Stop being in the inner critic and just see if you can be an observer. See if you can observe the messages your inner critics are sending you. It's just a part of you. It's not all that you are. And while doing this, you might also want to see, what are some of the positive messages? What is the voice that gives you positive messages? I bet you forgot you had one of those. But see if you can become an observer of those messages as well. And don't try to argue with the inner critic. Just see if you can step back and become the observer. I have heard so many inner critics messages as a coach, and it's amazing to me how similar they all sound. And you might be surprised to find out that your inner critic's messages is very similar to those of your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues. You are not the only one with these messages. And the first step in reducing the power of your inner critic's messages is to become its observer and to separate from them. You are not your inner critic. It is a part of you, but it's not all that you are. You were not born with an inner critic. Starting to separate from the inner critic allows you to become its observer. And when you observe this voice, you get a choice. You can choose whether you want to listen to this voice or not, whether you will take on its message or not. You will be a choice. For the next few days, I want you to start to observe the messages from your inner critic. And see if you can also hear those messages that are positive, and see if you can find them as well. And I'll see you in a couple of days in video number 2.